All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show Beyond the Claim. I am Vince Perri, your public adjuster extraordinaire, entrepreneur, business owner. Business acquisitions as well is what we're doing now. We are here at the beautiful Transcend Studio here in Tampa, Florida. This is Beyond a Claim, and we are with my amazing guest and good friend, Brittany Alexander. Brittany, thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm delighted.
Brittany, you are the owner of Premier Property Law, and I'm just happy that you're here. Thank you so much for taking the trip and coming over here, seriously.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So you've been an attorney now for 8 years. Could you tell me just a quick background, a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So out of law school, I got a job at a mid-sized firm that had a huge insurance defense department, and I kind of fell into doing that just because there were so many claims, and I'd never really done anything before in the property insurance realm or industry, so I kind of had to jump into the deep end and learn what I could. Learned it, decided I hated working for insurance companies, went and flip-flopped to the plaintiff side, loved it, felt really great about that work that I was doing, and then eventually saw an opportunity to open my own firm in October 2020, which I did, and here we are, 4 years later.
So you didn't, after you were working on the defense side, you didn't start your own firm immediately? You worked for someone else before that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you just fell into it? Like, what was your plan in law school to actually do?
Okay, you're gonna laugh. Okay, so my plan was to do like mergers and acquisitions. I wanted to do corporate law.
Mergers and acquisitions.
Yes.
That's what I'm like really getting into now.
Yes, exactly. I loved it. I loved contracts. I loved deals. I always wanted to do anything in business. I love business. Like I'm an attorney, but really I'm an entrepreneur. I'm sure you'd say the same,
Sure.
right? So I wanted to get into that. And, my dad, he was like, well, the path to that is to get into contracts litigation. So I responded to like an ad for contracts litigation associate. Turns out that the guy that hired me didn't have a ton of contracts litigation. I was doing everything. I did like PI and real estate and all sorts of criminal. I was doing everything, which was great for experience, but they also had insurance defense. And I had said something to one of the partners and she's like, oh, I have some cases for you. And she comes back to my office with like a stack of like 20 paper files. And she's like, hey, can you look at these and, just take it from here? And I was like, sure, okay. So I just kind of stumbled into it, right? I was like researching, using YouTube, trying to figure out what all of this stuff meant in policies, which worked. I mean, I learned a ton and was able to actually get the cases resolved, litigate them, take them all the way up to trial. But then I decided, like you said, didn't want to deal with the insurance companies.
You didn't want to work on the insurance company side?
Yeah, it just didn't feel aligned.
What are some of the things that you noticed?
The disregard for just human compassion a lot of the times. And I understand their businesses, they need to
save money.
Yeah, it's money, right? Yes, the people are a number, right? But there were cases I was involved in where I was like, hey, I feel like this is what I'm seeing based on the facts. We should pay this amount. And it was just like principle, no. We want to get them on this. They said this in their deposition. We're going to get them on this technicality. And I was like, but why would we do that? We could just pay the claim right now for this little old lady who needs her money, right? And it didn't feel aligned anymore. I felt like I was not on the right side.
When you decided to get out, you realized that wasn't for you. What was the plan after that?
Well, the plan was to get a job anywhere else, basically. But I saw that there were a lot of plaintiffs firms that were hiring. And so I said, well, I already know how to do this and I'm pretty good at it. So let me go get a job at a smaller boutique place where I feel like I'm actually doing a good service.
Like, I think my bigger question is, did you always sort of like know that you were probably going to just start your own firm?
For sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time that I was starting it, that I was going to start it, but I always wanted to have my own business. Like I was always running things on the side, doing this and that. Like for a while, I was helping Amazon sellers when they got suspended and I was drafting plans of action because I'm a great writer and I know how to argue for a side. So I was doing that for a while and I wanted to have my own company and the opportunity just kind of arose and took it.
Yeah. I find that a lot of people, it's kind of the same thing. It's like the entrepreneurial spirit is just kind of like ingrained in them. It's in their blood. Where do you think that comes from?
Desire.
Okay.
I think everything we do in life starts with a desire to actually do it. Because if you're going to try to force yourself to do something, either it doesn't work long term or the result isn't what you wanted anyway. So it starts with the desire of I want to have my own business or I want to be in the corner office. Whatever it is your desire is, that's how it starts. And then you just find a path forward. Like, especially entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, here's what I want. How do I get this done? And you look for any opportunity, any way to do it. You try, you fail, you do trial and error, and you find your path.
I always think also entrepreneurship has a lot to do with finding a problem, an issue.
That's true.
Or like when you're working at a company or a firm and you realize, well, this can be done better. This should be done this way. This can be done that way.
Right.
Was there anything that you could remember that was just like, wait, this is not the way it should be done. I know that I can do this better.
Yeah, communication.
Okay.
Communication for sure. So this is with all lawyers. And I've worked on both sides, right? I've been a lawyer for people, but I've also hired lawyers to help me with various things. So I know like what people experience when they work with lawyers. And it's a lot of like, the lawyer's doing a lot. They're going to hearings, they're doing depositions, they're participating in mediations, they're doing a lot of work, but that doesn't always get communicated to the client. So the client's sitting there like, nothing's been done. I don't know what's happening in my case, which is frustrating. I totally get it. I've been on that side. So I saw an opportunity to kind of streamline communications, specifically for what's happening in claims. So like my team, whenever something happens, they're sending off an email saying, hey, we've just gotten this MET, we just scheduled this deposition. Just quick blurbs of, hey, this is what's been going on in your case, so that we can communicate that efficiently and it gets to the client in real time and they feel like they're supported, they feel heard, they feel like we're on their side, helping them resolve the case rather than just like doing all this work and leaving them in the dark. So I saw that as like an opportunity to kind of put together systems in the firm for communication. And when I started my firm, that's exactly what I did. I set up all of our systems so we do communications regularly.
Tell me about your system behind putting together systems. Like, how did you do that?
Explain more. System behind systems?
So let me see here. So I've got in my notes here, you have automated template updates to improve communication with clients.
Right.
And then you also talked about the importance of removing micro decisions. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I'll start with micro decisions.
Okay.
Micro decisions are the thousands of decisions we make every single day. Like, what am I going to eat for breakfast? Should I brush my teeth now or in 10 minutes? When do I want to call this person back? When should I work on this project that I have to work on today? So all of these little decisions, they take up our time and energy. And in a business, especially when we're fast-paced, which is insurance claims litigation, you want to make sure that you are removing as many micro decisions as possible so that instead of a team member saying, oh, should I send this email now? What should I say in this email? It becomes okay, so I just did this, I saved this thing, now I have to send this email, and then I'm going to move on to my next task. They just make it like streamlined so they don't get fatigued with all these decisions and what do I do? And I have to ask so-and-so about what to send and what to say if it's just templated. So I wrote out, I don't even know how many templates for different things that would happen in cases. And then I built an actual system written down, like documented.
Before ChatGPT.
Before ChatGPT. Yeah, I know, right? People today don't even know how easy they have it to create all these things, you know? Well, we should talk about that later.
For sure.
And I wrote out all of these templated responses for simple things, when your lawsuit's filed, when the claim's been reported, all of these things. And I put it into our documented systems of when this happens, send this update. Simple.
It's funny because I have a workbook that we sell, and at the end of the workbook, there's just a bunch of templates. Brittany, they're like the simplest things. They're like literally like, hey, just wanted to follow up. We sent this on this date, this on this date, this on this date, and it's got like the space at the end of it. And I just created them just based on my normal follow-up process when I was just a one-man band, just doing everything myself. And to this day, everybody still sends me messages, sends me comments that their favorite part of this like 175-page workbook that's got a ton of information in it is just like the 9 or 10 templates that I have in the back just to help with the follow-up process.
Wild.
I know. And it was just the simplest thing in the world.
Yeah. And now it's even easier with ChatGPT to just draft any kind of email, let alone like templates for what you're trying to do in any claim.
Well, when ChatGPT first came out and I started using it, that's one of the first things that I did was actually put together automated and templated text messages and emails to clients and contractors to keep them all up to date. And then I put them all into like our template feature, like not our template feature, but the feature where you have, all the templates, and then you could just like pick and choose. And just depending on the status, as soon as it went to a status, it was a notification for the admin to go ahead and send it. I'd like to get it automated, but the problem with the automation, I feel like, you know how sometimes you move from one status and then maybe you have to move back to another status, then it's going to get all messed up. So we just made it just a part of the process that as soon as it moves from one status to the other, you got to go, you'll get a notification. This thing has to go now to the contractor, to the client, so on and so forth.
That's great. I love that.
How are you able to, I think a big issue that people have when they start developing systems and processes is number one is making sure that they're actually being used. And number two, kind of like just organizing and storing them. Do you have any like specific thing that comes to mind?
Yeah. So when I'm writing out any type of task flow or workflow, I do it like in a Google Doc first, because if I'm trying to implement it in my software, it just gets messy and it's hard to see. So I write out everything first and then I implement it. So just to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then in terms of making sure that processes are actually followed, if you have a platform you're using, you can see if tasks have been completed. You can see what documents are in there. So it might take a little bit of manual work to make sure somebody gets it and understands it. And then on the flip side, meeting with your team.
Yeah.
I meet with all of my team every week to make sure that they understand what's going on. Have you had any problems with this? I mean, even with our attorneys, we meet every week, all of us together, and we bring up issues. We collaborate. I want to make sure that there's open communication internally as well as externally, so everybody understands what's expected and what the process actually is, and then it's followed.
Yeah. One of our core values is accountability. It's very, very big. You're going to hold yourself accountable for just making sure any decision that's made, any mistake that's made, anything that's done, you have to take full accountability for it. And one thing that I've started doing is when I get questions about things, my new default is, I don't know. But the reason is for, I learned something recently where it's called the 1-3-1 rule. So you come to me with a problem. Then I'm going to ask you, okay, so what's the problem you have? Okay, this is the problem. Okay, I want you to think of 3 solutions to that problem. 1, 2, 3. They think of them. I'm like, okay, what's the best solution of the 3? And 9.9 times out of 10, they're able to come up with the solution themselves.
Right.
So I try to ingrain in them of know that when you come to me, I'm probably going to ask you for 3 solutions. So maybe come up with the 3 solutions and the one that you need to actually solve this problem.
I have a version of that.
Okay.
And it stems from law school where we used the Socratic method. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yes, I have heard of that.
So instead of lecturing, it's asking questions to everybody in the class to make sure that we understand the reasoning and how somebody comes to a conclusion. So I do that on my team. Someone's like, what should we do in this situation? My response is always, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think we should do? And they'll give me, oh, well, maybe we should do this. Okay, well, how do you think that'll pan out? And do you think that's best for this case? How do you attribute that to this thing in the case? I try to make sure that we're like showing people how we think rather than just telling them what to do.
It builds the autonomy. It builds leadership too. I think it gives the employees just more of a sense of just ownership as well, and just being able to just move things forward without having to come to you. That's at the end of the day, I think the ultimate goal for the entrepreneur.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. One other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to that is I had asked you in regards to organizing everything. How are you able to do all that if you've got all these systems and processes in place?
Google Docs.
Okay.
It sounds so ridiculously simple, but everything is documented in a Google Doc.
Okay.
It's implemented in our practice management software. So we do have the task flows in there that are automated, but everything's written in the procedures in our Google Docs.
What about saving everything?
Oh, that's in our practice management software. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Everything that has to do with clients is saved in our software.
Okay.
But everything that has to do with how the procedures work, we have that in a Google Doc.
Now, one thing that I've always found very unique about you, where I think is very unique as well, I think in law firms in general, is most of your employees and independent contractors and people that work for you, everyone's virtual, right?
Yes, we're 100% virtual.
Remote. Around the world?
Around the world. 3 countries now.
What are some of the locations that you have virtual workers?
Colombia and the Philippines.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about in the U.S.?
The U.S., we are spread across Florida, Texas, and California.
Gotcha. How are you able to keep the sort of team cohesion and keep everything moving while you're on vacation in Europe?
Slack.
Okay.
Yep. Every internal communication happens through. Another thing that bothered me at previous firms is that everything was through email, external and internal. So I'd get emails from my paralegal at defense, hey, a deadline's coming up, and I wouldn't see it because there'd be a million other emails from other people externally. So I changed that to be everything externals in Slack. So I know if I have a Slack message, it's probably important because it's coming from somebody on the team, right? Or I can send out messages to groups or for different reasons and different channels. So everything happens in Slack. I have it on my phone. So you ask how I can do anything in Europe,
Right.
It's on my phone.
Gotcha.
Wi-Fi is everywhere.
Are you able to not get overwhelmed? Like, do you have enough people put in place, and do you have enough processes and autonomy put in place where you're able to just not get overwhelmed by things?
I think everybody gets overwhelmed all the time, especially entrepreneurs. That just happens.
Yeah.
How you deal with the overwhelm is actually the skill you want to improve. It's not eliminating all risks. It's not eliminating all errors. It's how do you deal with those things is what's important.
Gotcha. I couldn't agree more. That's for sure. One thing that I really wanted to get into, honestly, is your ability to market. I would like to also get into the state of the industry and stuff like that and how claims are going. But this show's become a little bit more broad on purpose to really start to head home and talk about systems, processes, entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. But, one thing that's always attracted me to you is the fact that you've been very, very successful in social media. One of our daily non-negotiables that I tell for my group mastermind, my group coaching, which I think you have group coaching too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
One of the non-negotiables is you have to post on social media 3 times. Another one is that you have to actually do 5 opens a day, which means people that like your stuff, people that message your stuff, people that follow you, you should also reach out to them.
Absolutely.
Like it's better than, and I'm a BNI member, it's better than even just in-person networking and building relationships because now everyone's in that remote space. Everyone's in that virtual space. Like people that follow you. I remember when I first started posting on YouTube and I started getting comments. And for some reason, this light bulb came off in my head where it's just like, wait, like these are real people that are commenting on my videos. These are real people that are messaging me on Instagram because my thought process, which I'm sure the older generation is the same, where it's like, oh, that's just a bubble. That's not an actual person. You know what I'm saying? That's just like a bubble with a photo in it. And you don't know who that is. You don't know who on the other side. That's like back in like 1999. Now in 2025, like you could literally have real open networking opportunities and you could build real relationships without ever even having met a person. And then that could turn into dollars and that could turn into business. So when you started your own firm, did you always plan on just going head in to social media, or is that something that just happened by chance?
So I started that before.
Okay.
So bringing you back to 2020, it's COVID. There's not much to do. And I had an inspired idea to just post on my personal Instagram page, by the way, about roof leaks and what kind of work I've been doing and the cases I've been working on. And that just kind of like sparked a lot of interest. We're like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you knew that. And like, I think one person was like, hey, my uncle's got a problem. Can you help him? And that was like an out-of-state thing. And I was like, this could be something. And I just kept posting. Like if you scroll all the way back down on my Instagram, those videos are so cringe. Like it's just me in my living room. It's exactly. Like they're not anything special, but they worked. And I started and I continued and I just like created that consistency. So that was I think July of 2020 or June of 2020, and I was doing that for several months.
At the same time.
Did we really?
Yes, I started February 2020.
Maybe there's something in the air.
Yeah, it's the exact same time. That's so funny.
So I started posting those videos, and a couple months later, I realized that like people were sending me business, and that's when the light bulb went off. It's like, oh wait, I could do this on my own. So then I quit my job, started my firm the next day. Yeah. So I started social media first. And then when I had cases coming in, I was like, hey, I could actually do this. Interesting.
Yes. What advice would you give to someone who's scared to show up online?
There's so many there's so many levels of scared. Like, what are you scared of? Are you scared of judgment from other people that are going to laugh at you and point fingers? Like, are you really going to let that stop you from doing something that could advance and excel your life? Like, somebody said this to me one time, and it was, if you're worried in your head that someone's going to laugh at you or judge you for posting online, you're literally letting a thought in your own head stop you from doing something that you want to do, from doing something that could excel your entire life. Why are you stopping yourself? Because it's not the other people. The other people they don't even know what you're planning. They haven't even thought about it. They probably don't even care. So why are you letting that stop you?
And we all know that thoughts are just make-believe anyway.
Yeah, they are. You can choose your own thought.
Right.
Switch it around. Hey, what if everyone loves this? What if people are really interested? What if I have something to say that could help people? Spin it around.
Do you have a plan, like on how often you post and when you post and what you post about and so on and so forth?
Yes and no. I do have a plan. It's documented in a Google Doc, but it's a little more fluid because I have been doing this for so long and I do have an audience and I do have a presence that if it's like, hey, I want to take a bit of a break from this kind of social post and I want to do a little more YouTube or something, whatever I'm like feeling is creative for me and is good for me to share, I'll do that. But I try to be consistent.
What do you feel is one of the best things to come about being all in on social media and posting on social media? Connections.
You and I are here. I'm sitting here because you and I connected on social media.
Exactly.
I live how many hundreds of miles away? Like I would have never known you. I would have never met you. This would not have been a relationship that we had. That's the purpose of social media. People think like, oh, I'm going to get on and people are going to message me that they have claims or that they need help with their damage. No, The point of social media is to make connections. It's to, like you said, connect with people, message them, and then get off social media. It's just a connector.
Yeah.
You want to get in person with people. You want to have a Zoom coffee. You want to take them to lunch. That's the purpose. That's the whole point of using social media as the asset that it is.
Yeah, when I coach people, when I talk to people, other business people, and one of the first things I do is I go on their Instagram.
Right.
And when
Exactly.
I see that either, I don't care how many followers they have, when I see that there's no little light around the profile photo, that means they haven't posted any stories. Or when I see that their last post was months ago or last year, I'm
Right.
like, what are you complaining about?
Right. And also repurposing too. People do not repurpose enough. Like using something that performed really well in the past. Like once you've been posting a while
Right.
and you're just like, hey, I'm tired, or, I'm not going to post anything, or I'm not going to record anything till next week, repurpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Very important. It's funny how though, that it's like the best form of networking.
It is.
The opens was something that I just started after, with my coach, where that kind of just dawned on me. It's just like, you get your followers and you get your comments and stuff like that, and you say thank you, but like to actually reach out to people who have just followed you, they're following you for a reason.
Right.
And it might be just because they want to see more content, but it might actually be because they're suffering from some kind of issue to their home, or they're a contractor that wants to come work with you, or in your case, maybe it's a public adjuster that's interested in your
Right.
content. And if you start doing those opens and you start reaching out, let me tell you, that turns into like even double the amount of relationships that you build.
Even just like following someone back or liking their stuff, just like engaging with their life and seeing what they're up to, you don't know. Like they could also know somebody to connect you with.
What's something that posting on social media and developing an online presence led to that you didn't think that was just like out of left field?
Starting my firm, beginning coaching other lawyers to start their firms. I mean, so much has come out of this. My wedding in Lake Como, because I started my firm and I was able to be successful.
Sure.
All of these things, like the tangents of my life, because I started to show up
That's
online.
crazy.
It's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You mentioned how your social media content, and obviously it's the quality of the content that you're putting out, has actually helped other lawyers start their own firm.
Right. That was the funniest thing about posting content about
You attract
property damage.
You attract lawyers.
I attracted
Same thing
lawyers.
That happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. It was like all these lawyers
Well, I
like, hey,
attracted
how are you?
public adjusters.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
like, hey, how are you doing this? I was in the DMs all the time, like telling people like, hey, here's an idea for you. Here's what I would do in your shoes. Right. And I was like, okay, I need to do this like in a different platform,
Right.
different way, because the time was not there. But like, it's a pretty big deal when like you inspire somebody else to like take a leap of faith in themselves.
Feels good, right?
Feels amazing.
Have you put on any events? Like
No, I
yourself?
haven't.
You've never
No.
done an event?
Only virtual. I mean, I meet with my coaching clients, like we'll go to dinner or whatever, but I've never put on an event, no.
The reason why I asked
Interesting idea.
that is like, I'm sure you've had it too. If you go to like a conference or something like that, when people come up to you and they thank you for your content, like that's one of the best feelings.
Yeah, that happened at your event in 2021. That was like one of the first times. I was like, oh,
It's like you have no idea. And
I didn't
then
even know
you
what to
meet-
say.
Yeah. And you meet
Like,
these
thank
people
you
in
so
person
much.
and they give you a hug and stuff like that. They're like,
I
thank
know.
you so much.
I love that.
Yeah. It's just amazing the amount of things that come out of social media. It's 2025, right? It's not like, again, it's not 1999 anymore where you're not sure what to do. At the end of the day, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful in business, and I don't even think I encourage everyone that works around me, even the staff that works around me, it's okay to like, if you have an interest, okay? Like Claire over here, Claire's with me. She actually likes to make bread and candles, remember?
Yes.
Like if you have an interest and you want to start a business, a side business, something like that, like that's totally okay. Like I think, and I think social media is one of the things that gives us that opportunity, because as soon as you start doing the thing and you
Right.
record yourself doing the thing and you talk about how you're doing the thing, it attracts people and it attracts other people to actually want to learn how to do it and then potentially purchase something that you're actually creating.
Exactly. Yes.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Power of the internet.
Yeah. So you started the firm, and then from social media, which I think is a pretty common trend, you started the coaching business as well.
I did.
Are you still doing both?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yes.
how's that managing and juggling that?
I mean, it's great. Like, property insurance is a need. Like, it's something I could do well and a hole I could fill, especially in my role running the firm and overseeing all the systems and all of the team. But the coaching is like almost a passion project. I hate the word side hustle. I don't like the word hustle in general. And side, like nothing's on the side. Like everything is an interest that I'm doing because I like it and I'm interested in it. So my coaching business is a true passion. Like I love helping lawyers, especially female lawyers, build their firms and create this lifestyle, but also serve clients in a very efficient way that just, it's a great feeling. So I love doing both, and I don't see any problems or issues with doing both because I love them. I chose to do them.
Are there any other passion projects that you're doing?
Some, but they're top secret.
Gotcha.
I will share when they're ready.
Sure. And did that result out of social media and connections and all that stuff?
Kind of. But it was more so like a problem. Like I was facing a problem.
That's what it is.
And I made a solution and I was like, wait, other people have this issue. I could share this solution.
Do you see yourself working in the property insurance claims for like forever? Is that like your thing, or do you see yourself potentially doing other things?
I am an entrepreneur at heart, so I'll always be doing other things. I don't know if that means in addition to or instead of or after, but I will always be doing different projects.
How do you feel about the state of the industry these days?
The sentiment is down, for sure. It's challenging as a lawyer representing homeowners because I can only do so much with what we're given. So if we're up against something that is, like we're talking about coverages, the coverages aren't there. If there's a problem that is in the policy or something happened that we can't fix, the homeowner's kind of SOL. And I feel terrible that we can't help them do anything.
How do you feel about the passing of the attorney fees and cost statute? It's brutal.
It's brutal for, again, homeowners. Like we're in the industry, this is our job. So obviously it affects us, but we can find a way through. Like we're talking about, we're entrepreneurs, there's a solution. Right. But what's the solution for the property owner, right? Who now doesn't have really any recourse against the big insurance company. The whole reason to have the one-way attorney's fees years ago is because imagine just like little mom and pop going up against a huge corporation. They have so many more resources. They can delay things. They can just put you into the ground. So it was a way for the small people to be able to go against the big insurance company if there was an issue with that contract, a breach of the policy.
The issue that I have is that it comes out of the actual payment that's being made to do the repairs to your home. If they're actually paying the true cost of what it costs to rebuild your home, and now a percentage has to come out to the attorney, and then God forbid there's a public adjuster, that percentage has to come out of there too. Mm-hmm. You know, they're lucky if they end up with half. Right.
Somebody was making a allegation, a similarity to car insurance and PI, and if somebody gets into an accident, like PI is always taken a percentage of the claim. And I'm like, that's true. But people also have health insurance to kind of cover that gap. With property insurance, that's all you get. Right. What's in your policy for coverage.
That's true. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. So it's putting people in a worse off position no matter what, because they're losing out part of their damages to the attorney's fee.
Are there any kind of maneuvers or things that you're doing a little bit differently in the last year or so in order to...
I mean, you could do a proposal for settlement. That's always been available.
Yeah,
I did plenty of those on the defense side back in the day, right? But again, like how effective is it? Because again, the insurance company has all the resources in the world.
How has it been effective? Because I know that we've started implementing with the attorneys that we work with, with you as well. Mm-hmm. But the proposal for settlement of obviously... You could explain it better than me probably, but I'll just do my best without butchering it, is obviously you propose a settlement amount. If they say no, and then you get into the lawsuit, if you do not get up to a certain percentage of whatever it is that you proposed in the beginning, that client is entitled to pay for all of the attorney fees and costs. However, if you are able to get more than the proposed settlement up to a percentage, then all the attorney fees and costs are paid for. How's that going?
That's actually a really great explanation.
Yes.
It's going, but it's still slow. It's not nearly the resolution timeline we've seen in the past. I'm seeing a lot more claims resolve pre-suit.
So
before we even get into lawsuit.
The proposal for settlement is before the lawsuit, right?
No.
Okay.
Proposal for settlement is happening during the lawsuit.
Gotcha.
So you're saying go forward with the lawsuit as in goes forward with like an MSJ or trial where there's some type of decision, there's a resolution. Gotcha. Either way, right? But you're doing it in the lawsuit to say, hey, we're willing to settle for X amount right now, but if we have to go forward and you don't get nearly as much as we're offering or that we're demanding, then you still have to pay our attorney's fees.
So that comes after settlement and pre-suit then?
Settlement and pre-suit. Correct.
Right. Okay. Right. So the process is basically you're trying to settle it before even getting into that. Once you are unable to settle, then you're going to submit the lawsuit, correct?
Correct.
Or the demand or whatever you call it, file it.
Yeah.
Then you're going to do the proposal for settlement, right? And then the process continues.
Yes.
So you're settling more in pre-suit?
We are, yeah. I'm noticing
Percentage-wise, what do you feel? What is it?
I'd have to look. I mean, it's 60-40 maybe. Okay. Like it's a lot more. It's a lot more. But I'm noticing that when we file these 10 days, we do get access to somebody that's usually a little higher up the ladder.
It's another lawyer.
Somebody, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great when it's another lawyer because
Right.
then we can kind of like just talk, oranges to oranges. But when we didn't have access to people or we're in an issue where we just need to move forward anyway, it just becomes so much harder
Yeah.
to get somebody who will actually look at the file.
Right. What's the from your perspective? What's the feeling on the streets when you're talking to other public adjusters?
Similar to what you were saying earlier, is it's a lot harder to get claims in the door, and I'm also finding that people are finding claims, but the insureds don't want to file them. They're just like, hey, I'll pay out of pocket, or hey, I don't really want to move forward with this. A lot of it is the fee shifting statute. Some of it's when we get a PFS filed from the defense. Some of it's just like, hey, I just, I can't go forward with this right now. Like, I'm afraid I won't be insurable. I have a whole other argument for that. But, a lot of this sentiment is leaking through to the public adjusters.
My biggest issue has always, honestly, has been the water damage caps.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Those are, to me, the worst.
No one knows that they have them. No one.
And they're like across the board almost now.
I
at
know.
least in Florida.
Yes, it's terrible.
I mean, my thing was always, the first 10 years of my career was networking with plumbers and contractors. And I would say over 90% of my claims were water damage claims. Like, I didn't even get into this roof stuff until after I got on social media, where Irma came in 2017. I started the YouTube channel in 2020. Or maybe it was like December 2019. It was like right there. And all of a sudden I start getting DMs and I start getting questions about, hey, how's it going with your new Irma claims that you're filing? And I'm like, dude, it's 2020. Like you're talking about 2017. I'm like, you're filing a new claim or you're reopening a claim? And he's like, no, I'm filing a new claim. And I don't know if I should be saying this stuff on the podcast, but to me, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, What are you doing? So how do you know? My question was, how do you know that damage is from 2017?
Right.
He's like, well, that was the last, severe wind event we had. I'm like, but that's not how it normally works. Because what I used to do in Wilma, I became an adjuster end of 08, 09. So back then it was a 5-year statute. So I started just literally looking for blue tarps. That's all I would do. The owner of the company said, just look for blue tarps or, find areas that were hit hard by Wilma and just door knock. So that's what I would do. And my first question, Brittany, when I would knock on the door would be, did you file a Hurricane Wilma claim? If the answer was yes, my follow-up question would be, did you hire a public adjuster? If the answer was no, I would tell them, let me take a look at your paperwork. I can probably reopen that claim and get you more money. But Brittany, I didn't just hop on a roof and say, hey, you have damage.
Right.
This is Wilma related 5 years ago, because I already knew how that would go. That's already an exclusion on the policy. It's late filing. It's not following the proof of loss. The duties after the loss and so on and so forth. So I don't know where I'm going with this.
That's how we ended up with the law changes.
But that's where we're at, you know? And it's just, I don't know how we got there.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we got there, is people were getting in and they were just like, oh, look for any damage. It's probably related to the last hurricane.
And they still do it. Like, there's still there's literally $1 million businesses that were created to look up weather reports to just pick the strongest one and say, and look, it's not... And you're, as an attorney, obviously you're going to have your arguments, and you find a way to argue your for your client, and you're going to do what you have to do. So it's not any of your fault. I don't know if it's the roofer's fault. I don't know if it's the public adjuster's fault. I mean, I just think it's, a little bit of greed, right? Ultimately just trying to get claims settled. But yeah, I don't know. That was just the thing that really surprised me when I started getting those DMs. I'm like, why are you filing a new Irma claim 3 years later? Yeah.
Greed is a harsh word because I think it implies intent.
Yeah.
In a way, but I think people maybe saw opportunity. They were maybe not as skilled or experienced, and that's kind of how we fell into that hole.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry to bring it so down, so dark.
Let's bring it back up.
I wanted to also ask you, so what's the structure like on your teams? Is it 2 separate teams? And I'm asking you now for a personal reason, right? Because you have 2 businesses and they're sort of interrelated. Is it 2 separate teams? Do they sort of intermingle? Also, I could follow up with another question is like, do you have 2 separate social media accounts? How does all that work?
Yeah, so I do have separate teams, but the team for coaching is much smaller because it's a lot of my time, whereas the team for the law firm is like 16 people.
Okay.
We've got 3 attorneys under me. We've got paralegals, directors, so it's a much different structure. And it's much smaller for coaching because, again, it's my time. So it's very different. There's no real commingling, but I did bifurcate my social media. So I was getting so many inquiries on Instagram about like building a firm that I kind of like morphed that into my coaching business. Whereas the YouTube, all property. All property insurance. And that's searchable. That was strategic, right? Because Google search engine, also YouTube. So people search for roofs and different things. I wanted that to be what people were finding. And I mean, I still have an Instagram for Premier Property, but it's different. It's bifurcated.
What's bifurcated?
Split in two.
Okay. What do you mean?
Split in two. So I have my TikTok and my Instagram for coaching. And then I have a Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for Premier for property law.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you have a personal as well?
No.
Okay.
No, my personal is lawyer.Britt.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the coaching as well.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Are you
the
still
coaching
posting
one.
educational content about claims on Lawyer Britt?
On Premier Property.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I say I bifurcated. Some of my presence is about starting a law firm, systems, coaching, growing your firm. And the other part is about claims, roofs. Here's how I can help you.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right. How big is your team?
15, 16? I guess I'm 16. Yeah, I guess I'm 16.
How many paralegals do you have?
We have 2 paralegals. We have 5 assistants. We've got 3 directors and 3 attorneys other than me and an intake assistant.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Tell me about leadership. How have you been able to sort of take your leadership skills to the next level and then ultimately implement them onto your team?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my leadership skills have been trial and error, learned through experience,
Gotcha.
but also pulling from like other experiences in my life. Like we talked about earlier, Socratic method from law school.
Yeah.
I use that for my leadership team, for my directors, when they come to me with like, hey, what should we do with this? Well, what do you think? Like, how do we work this,
Seems like
right?
something that you think about all the time, the Socratic method.
Yes, it is. Yeah, definitely. It's just helpful. And instead of telling somebody how to do something or telling somebody how you would do something, having them arrive at that answer, you're basically creating a new neural pathway for them to figure out the same thing again on their own.
Gotcha.
So I do that for the leadership team so they're able to make decisions like I would make decisions.
Gotcha.
Same reasoning.
What are you looking to do? What's next for the law firm, for the coaching program? What are you trying to do? What's the vision look like?
Yeah, so for the law firm, we're expanding into Texas.
Okay.
Very excited about that, waiting on my admission for the bar.
Nice.
And I think that'll be great. So we can bring what we've built into Texas and same thing, help property owners there because they have every kind of weather in Texas. It's wild. And then for the coaching, I am doing one-on-one coaching and growing that out, mainly with female lawyer entrepreneurs and helping them grow their firms.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Texas only or anywhere else? Yeah, because you have to, is there anything that's like, that you're able to, is there any kind of reciprocity with?
No,
right?
Florida, New York, and California basically have zero reciprocity with anybody.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
wow.
there are some loopholes of where you can waive in, or if you've been working or in an industry for a certain amount of time, you can always do on-motion acceptance. Colorado is, we're also barred in Colorado. I haven't done much yet there, but I am officially finally barred.
Colorado is probably one of the best. Texas is becoming like Florida.
Yeah, Texas is the Wild West.
At this point, we're probably going to see just roofs and hail not being covered on the policy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they've got some pretty bad. They've got a lot of ACV roof policies.
Okay.
Or it's ACV only, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just deny hail or exclude hail altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've built the firm from scratch, right? What's one leadership lesson that you've learned along the way?
To treat people like human beings. Compassion first, criticism later.
Got it.
So when someone comes to me and they've totally screwed something up, I'm very solutions oriented. So it's like, okay, this has been messed up. How do we fix it, right? I always go to fix first, find a solution, and then I dive into kind of how did we arrive at this problem? Is it my fault for not conveying? Are our processes not set up, or did you just make a mistake, right? So follow with that compassion first rather than just like coming down hard on somebody. And then following with the criticism. Okay, let's fix it. How do we avoid this in the future rather than just like flying off the rails? Because I've had plenty of bosses that have just flown off the rails and blown things out of proportion. And some things were kind of my fault. Some things were absolutely not my fault. And I felt attacked and it just like damaged our relationship. And you still have a working relationship with your team. You need to be able to, you need to respect each other. You need to have that bond that you can work together to serve the clients. So by treating people with compassion first, you're maintaining that bond with them. And then you're still able to give them that criticism and that feedback and improve them and improve your systems without getting any kind of like negativity between you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. One thing for me that I've made a shift in 2025 is to try to be as impactful as possible. And my biggest goal now across the board, and it's not even, I mean, I have revenue goals that I want to make, and I've got obviously a lot of goals that I've listed, but on top of every single one is I want to try to grow every single employee and every single person around me.
How are you measuring that?
Well, how am I measuring that? That's a great question. Well, I mean, I'm implementing it by having leadership trainings every single week where we don't talk about work. Like we literally do a training on how they can actually get better, on how they can grow. How I'm measuring it is honestly, we have every single person on the team has a list of anywhere from 7 to 12 goals that they have for the year. And I mean, none of them are really work related. A lot of them are family, health, fitness, or just revenue as well, or things that they want to buy and stuff like that. And everyone has a list. What I like to do is I talk to everyone pretty much on a personal basis all the time, and I might ask them about how they're doing with that. But I do like to meet with them anywhere once from 3 to 6 months. Once a year, we go and we do goal setting. Individually, I do with every single employee on what they want for their life and like what they want for their life like 10 years from now and what I can do to actually help them get there. And then I meet with them like every 3 to 6 months. It's not like too strict on when I do, but I do like to do a checkup as to like, all right, so where you're at. Are you actually doing it? Are you getting there to actually do and accomplish your goals? So I guess that's the way I'm measuring it.
That's fantastic. I might start implementing a version of that.
Yeah, I've noticed a shift, to be honest, that people want to do stuff for you a little bit more. They want to work for you more. They want to try harder for you when they see that you care that deeply, where it's just like, you don't even care you don't care so much about my performance as much as you actually care about my overall performance and like my overall development as a person. It's like the performance just goes through the roof. It was pretty crazy when I started doing that. Brittany, thank you so much for coming on. Like, honestly, it was a real pleasure. Thank you. I had to force you to come. I know I messaged you several times.
But here I am.
Yes. Well, I got this nice studio and I'm just like, man, like this is like so.
Do you know how far Tampa is from Fort Lauderdale? It's like a 5-hour drive both ways.
It is not a 5-hour drive.
I came
it's
for
4
you.
hours to Miami. How is it 5 hours from Fort Lauderdale?
I will show you on my phone.
I don't know about that, but I do appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you.
Because, like honestly, it's like a whole different feel. And then when it comes out, it's like a whole different look. It looks really, really nice. I'm trying to get away from the virtual altogether.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Back
the virtual
to in-person.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm even talking to people all over the country and I'm asking them like, are you ever in Florida? Like, do you plan on coming to Florida?
Yeah.
If you do, just stop by for an hour. I'd love to do a show because it's just a whole different, my goal by the end of the year is to be able to come out with one in-person podcast guest every single week.
Love that. I know a woman in the legal industry and she does podcasts in person, but she does them like around the country. So she'll be at an event in New York and say, hey, who's in New York? I want to record. And she sets up like a little studio in wherever she's staying and does them. So I could see you doing that.
That leads me to actually something else that I would like for you to attend. Well, that's going to be in Orlando. The next time I come to Miami, one thing that I'm trying to implement now is founders dinners.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
High net worth individuals coming together, minimum of 4 people, maximum of 10 people at a nice restaurant where we get together. And there'll be a little bit of a structure. I'll definitely have some icebreakers that we'll have to really get conversation going. But I would like to get together as often as possible. For sure, probably every month in Tampa. But for example, on May 15th, if you're interested, in Orlando, we've already got 3 people who are coming on. And I'm gonna keep looking and see if I can get 8 to 10 for a founders dinner at Capitol Grill in Orlando. That, you're invited if you'd like to come.
That sounds excellent.
But when I have one in Miami, for sure, you're forced to come. You have no choice.
Well, we have the train on the east side now, so I can just hop on the train.
Oh, that's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Claire, we're going to send her a Google form. Yeah, that's one thing that I want to start doing is so instead of, it just made me think about that because you were talking about how your friend goes around and does podcast guests like that. Right. One thing that I want to do is now as I travel to different places, if I have like enough time in advance, one thing that we've talked about is that we're just going to like reach out to local people, try to get a founders dinner together, even if it's like 2 or 3 people. Yeah. I think that's even it could be even better. Yeah. I
prefer smaller groups. I mean, like big networking is fine, but what do? You talk to like the same group of people that you're sitting near, or you talk to people in one-on-one conversations. So I think that sounds fantastic.
And we're very specific. Like it's not just high net worth, but I want like real like visionary entrepreneurs, investors, business and acquisition people. Like, and I would like to try to keep it like exclusive to your category too. So like not a bunch of lawyers who do the same thing or not a bunch of people who do that. Like I want to try to keep it like that. So like right now on May 15th, we've got a builder and we've got a real estate investor. We've got myself and no, that's all we got. That's all we have right now. So
awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to go well. I want to start doing that pretty often just to get the masterminding together.
Yeah, I like that.
You know? Well, real quick, we'll have all your information below, but where can people find you? How can people contact you? And how can people get educated by you?
The best place to contact me is lawyer.britt, B-R-I-T-T with 2 T's, on Instagram. And I'm always available on email, on my website, premierpropertylaw.com, YouTube, Lawyer Britt, and Premier Property Law.
I always tell people I'm easy to find.
Just Google my name. Google Lawyer Britt and you will find me.
I like Instagram. Instagram, I think, has the best DM feature where it's just like a lot easier.
Connecting, yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Vince.
We'll see you later.
Bye.